Well, hello, that's me again. Today is December 1st. It is the end of the weekend for some. It is the morning in Seattle area, and I will start with shocking news. As probably you will recognize the gravity of the situation, because as you can see yourself, and there is a, how to put it politely, degree of reality in it. As you can see yourself, Bloomberg reports that Australia's social media ban for under 16s to become law. And children, as you can see yourself, it was 2 days ago, reported by Bloomberg and many other news outlets, and children under the age of 16 will be banned from opening accounts. And it's, they say, Australia's social media laws to be among strictest in the world. Fact is, it is not just Australia. Russians also considering this. And do you understand the ramifications and implications of all that? My God, I can tell you what it means. We will lose about 85% of the military analysts. Geopolitical commentators, it should be probably around 90%, and obviously specialists in weapon design and system integrations, that will be up to 100%. We're going to be losing those experts, which basically shape the narrative. And what can I say? Now Australia leads the way. Russia probably will follow sometime soon, and who knows, number of countries. I think so United States also considers this horrible law, because can you imagine a 15-year-old guy from school explaining to you the strategy and operational art? How can we live without it? But as much as you might laugh at it, you have to consider the fact that this is the majority of people who operate in this informational environment, and they comment on everything from how what latest weapon systems are made or how they are used and what have you. So can you imagine we're gonna lose that gigantic segment of military, political, and geopolitical analysts because obviously children under 16 will be, well, how to say it, stopped from opening their social media accounts. So I don't know how we're gonna live with this, but enough with the jokes. But the fact is, it's not really a joke. This is absolutely true. I don't know, of course, real percentages of those, but believe me, they are not trivial. These are the children which primarily, run the, national security circuit in the United States, for example, or for that matter in Germany. And so we have this situation, apart from Angela Merkel, whatever they call her, this mediocre, colorless, absolutely lying sack of whatever it is, and she obviously ejaculated the, if you can use that term, from her memoirs, in which she lies non-stop about Vladimir Putin, about Russia, and I don't know why anybody takes her as well as Germany serious anymore. However, this, as they call it, liver sausage, he is some kind of the, variation on the worst cuisine. I love my bratwurst and beer and bratwurst, make no mistake. I love it. I mean, especially with the red cabbage, and once in a while beer. Usually I do it without beer, and I eat the rye bread with it. Outstanding. But that doesn't change the nature of the German state and German nation. And so we have this guy. Remember this guy? His name is obviously Olaf Scholz, and basically he talks about that don't play Russian roulette on Ukraine, he says. Scholz made the remarks during an hour-long campaign speech on Saturday as he lashed out on Friedrich Merz, the Christian Democrat Union's candidate for chancellor in next year's federal election. And Merz said that Germany should give Russia an ultimatum to stop striking targets in Ukraine, and if it doesn't comply, Berlin would lift the restrictions on the range of missiles and then supply them to Kiev. First, you have to understand the only thing that Berlin has are all those Taurus missiles, which are pretty standard, targets for Russian air defense. But you have to also keep in mind that it's too late for Scholz, and it's also too late for Germany, because Nord Stream 2 is not coming back. There is a talk now of some American businessmen buying this whole thing altogether. So Germany is done. But as wonderful comment to this actually article states, go to the RT website, look up this thing, and the comment says that German people should decide who their real enemy is. Well, I think so. The German people have decided. And for people who continuously supply us, and believe me, I'm also one of those, about Germans who are really treated Russia nicely and look at Russia with, at least, neutrally. Majority of German nation already made this choice. And this choice, I mean, as I already stated many times on many occasions, including in my videos, is that Russia is existential enemy for Germans, and majority of Germans, don't ask me how percentage, it could be 60, it could be 80, but majority of German population hates Russian gods. It is actually rooted deep into the trauma of German nation, which was utterly defeated by Russians, or the Red Army, if you wish, and you cannot overcome that. So you can sense this even in this whatever the basically chihuahua of the United States, Angela Merkel. And it doesn't matter what they do now, because essentially there is no talk about returning of the Nord Stream 2, and that means the end of Germany as industrial power. Grossly, inflated to start with, with its capabilities, but still, one way or another, it's over for Germany, and with it, actually, Europe as a whole. And I'm not, basically shedding tears. And again, I have to constantly clarify my position. There are many decent people in Europe. The problem is they are minority. And the attitude of majority of the Europeans towards Russia is very clear. And Europeans do not understand anything in the moral sense. They understand only the economic privations which come with one or another type of the policies, and for the rest they don't care. If Russians will die tomorrow, all of them, they will be fine. And so that brings us to in this SitRep, so to speak, situation to basically the thing which is happening all over the place in the West, and it is obviously that situation. Of course, we cannot forget the immortal classic of The Wizard of Oz, when Hollywood was absolutely, the powerhouse of the producing one masterpiece after another. Not anymore, obviously, it's garbage now, but still. And here you have the moment of discovery who Wizard of Oz was, this puny old person sitting behind, or standing rather, behind the curtain, and producing all this, puff and huff and all those video and audio effects, and basically blowing the smoke out of everything, in reality being the impotent. And this is the situation which is happening right now in the West, and let me explain why. I'm not gonna go into Syria, I'm not gonna describe this. Basically everything about Syria has been so far there. Go to the website of the blog of Larry Johnson, and he explains to you that most of it is the manipulation. In reality, situation as not dire as they explain. And while obviously there is always the issue with the Arab armies, you have to keep in mind that most of it is propaganda from the United States and all those chihuahuas like United Kingdom to create the basically idea, or if you wish, the sense that something horrible happened. It is just pretty average day in Syria. They will deal with those takfiri, and they will kill them. They already been killed by, including Russian aviation, which is pretty much flies from Khmeimim. So that's it. But here is the issue. They are still coping, and that's even Washington Post. I mean, when you look at by this Robin Dixon who writes this, she's moron. I mean, as you would expect from the average American journal, or for that matter, most of Russian journals, they are morons. But the point is that she, in some sense, correct, despite the fact that she tries to spin the whole thing, that what Putin nuclear-capable Oreshnik missile means for NATO security. Fact is, it's the capability of non-nuclear rationing, which really is startling, because, in terms of nuclear-capable missiles, I mean, there is nothing in terms of the anti-ballistic missile, or for that matter, an anti-missile defense, which NATO, United States, euphemism for the United States, has, which is capable to shoot it down. Most of the United States air defense and air missiles, anti-missile systems is expensive junk which doesn't work. But here we have this Robin Dixon, that after Russia launched last week its Oreshnik intermediate range missile, state-owned propaganda outlet RT aired a video graphic depicting missiles flight times to major European capitals. Actually, I don't think so. It was RT. RT was reporting it from the Guardian, I believe, or some kind of the British tabloid. But then again, Robin Dixon, she is the chief of the Moscow bureau of the Washington Post, and it's, I don't know, normal people should avoid this lady, because who knows? And as she correctly stated, the Russian leader's use of the missiles against Ukraine sends a powerful signal about his intentions to weaken NATO and bend Europe's security architecture to Russia's will. Well, it's not intent, it already happened, and it's just that, of course, the morons like Robin Dixon, they do not know this, because obviously if you read her basically biography, she doesn't have any education. So that's how it is, And this is pretty much most of the US journals, and what can I say? Too bad, but it is true. And there, as I already stated many times, people who have at least half brain, they understand that Russia's war is not with Ukraine, which is the virtual state. The Russia's war is with NATO. And as many people stated on number of occasions that it is escalation. For example, like Mr. Orban, that dead Western soldiers in Ukraine, a sign of dangerous escalation. The involvement of foreign troops in hostilities indicate that the conflict is expanding. The Hungarian Prime Minister has warned. I respect his mind, I respect his will, and he is definitely one of the very unique, European leaders who really cares about his nation. But the problem is with his statement is that it's not escalation. Actually, it is preventing escalation. What he says, which is correct, the reported presence of Western soldiers among the casualties in Ukraine marks a dangerous escalation, a risk of the expansion of the war. According to Russian reports, American and French soldiers died in airstrike carried out by Russians on the territory of Ukraine. That means there are Western soldiers there. Well, I mean, somebody has to tell Mr. Orban, with all my deepest respect to him, that they have been there from the get-go. It's just that Russians now begin to deliberately hunt them down. And it's not just soldiers, it is primarily officers and people with the advisory position, which indicates that they have pretty large epaulets, if you wish, or stars. So Russians don't care if it is some American colonel or some American general. If it is he is there in Ukraine, he will be killed. And that has been for a while, but again, you have to understand, many people complain that, for example, Russians do not and Americans do not have now some kind of the secret channels of communications, as it used to be that, secretly Russian and American diplomats or Russian and American bureaucrats, or Soviet rather, would meet somewhere in neutral territory and behind the curtains, so to speak. They will be dealing and reeling and trying to settle things down. Not there anymore. CIA and KGB, they used to have this incredible open line, which never was used, only once actually by Americans, who called KGB and ask them if one of those, assets which have been captured, that was arrogant question really, if he was actually a Soviet asset. Obviously, people on the other side in Moscow, they simply hung up. But the problem with this is that none of this exists anymore. And there was this gentleman's agreement that, we catch yours, you catch ours, and we don't kill them. We get them into the jail or the prison, keep them for a while, and then exchange them. This was the gentleman's agreement. Now there are no gentlemen in Washington, D.C., and especially an organization which are directly responsible for this catastrophe which Washington, arranged for not only for the whatever is former Ukraine, but for Europe. In fact, is for the United States too. So you have nobody to talk to, and what's the point anyhow? So about this General Kellogg, I will repeat again that General Kellogg, with all his pedigree, which doesn't actually, and he doesn't have the real, for example, military education, and his military credentials means absolutely nothing. He will be laughed out by Russian military and Russian diplomats out of the room where these meetings will be produced, and where he will be demanding and telling Russians, as he already stated, that what they saw now on the battlefield are peanuts. We're gonna supply something which will overwhelm Russians. Well, he, as I already stated, he is not militarily and geopolitically competent man as it relates to the modern warfare and real economy, but this is the, illness, this is malaise, essentially, of the United States or American elites, including the military people. So yeah, he will be loved. He will be trying to, I don't know, just to try to move this Russian elephant, which stomps on the whatever is left on the of the armed forces of Ukraine and their advisors. And we can take a look actually at what is happening if we we'll take a look at the numbers, today's numbers, December 1st. As you can see yourself, yeah, the slaughter continues, and people say, oh, it dipped a little bit for the last week or so, probably less, about 5 days, below 2,000 a day. Well, it's very simple, because many run. And I mean run. So apart from the fact that very many are still not counted, and you can go and take a look at on my blog or anywhere in the Telegram channels, and you will see yourself what is happening in terms of the horrendous conditions in which the armed forces of Ukraine are. And many of the POWs testify to the fact that even if you go back and you're still alive, you either shot or you sent back to the front. This is the understanding of the basically American, primarily, and NATO of combined arms, because they just throw the meat into the meat grinder, and that's pretty much the level of their military competences. And if we take a look at the front, so, for example, let's take a look at Kupiansk area. So we have the Kupiansk area today, as you can see yourself, Russians are inside Kupiansk, and if you take a look at any map which comes today, you will see those red small arrows everywhere. The whole front is active like crazy. Then if you go, for example, from Kupiansk and you go to Kurakhova area, and you can see yourself, it's just absolute slaughter there. And again, as you can see yourself, everywhere, those little circles with the arrows, these are elements and subunits of Russians attacking along the whole front. And again, many people do not understand. It's not just about taking, which Russians take every day, several hamlets and villages and towns every day. It is about annihilation of the armed forces of Ukraine, which is essentially the NATO force, and it is horrifying. And yeah, you have to understand that no American servicemen ever experienced anything like that, and that's why you have those people who go out, all those American generals and all kinds of the other people who just, have these ideations that, oh, the war goes the wrong way. It shouldn't work like this. Well, of course it shouldn't work like this when you have your field manuals and combat manuals written forbidding the, basically crap out of the people who cannot shoot back. This is the totally different situation, and they better live with that. But as I already stated, in relation to General Kellogg, as I already stated, whose mission will be laughed out, he will be laughed at, what can he bring really when Russians know that the United States industrially is completely incapable and impotent to provide anything which matters, except of course to the fact that, yeah, there are some idiots in New York Times, because they are really hurting. That is some talk obviously initiated by the New York Times, which is not even, it's basically toilet paper. So White House comments on nukes for Ukraine. Moscow has warned that the transfer of such weapons to Kiev would be treated as a nuclear attack, as it should. I think so. Ukraine should cease to exist there. And then, of course, people in the United States who made this order, they have to be hunted down, because this will be their, well, crime against humanity on the most, egregious scale. But the U.S. is not considering giving Ukraine nuclear arms. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has said last month a New York Times report claimed that some officials in Washington want to arm Kyiv with atomic weapons. First, those officials mostly are technically illiterate, which is normal thing for the most American elites, and they are probably graduates of the Ivy League in all kinds of junk, with all kinds of junk degrees, which are used only for the credentialism. But the only way they can produce some kind of nuclear weapon for Ukraine will be B-61 free-falling bomb. Good luck trying to deliver this weapon. Or maybe some kind of Tomahawk missile with the, basically mounted, as I already stated, on the MK-41 vertical launch system, which actually elevates, and it's on the wheeled platform. I believe the United States now has something like 5 or 6 of those typhoons, what they call it, and most of them are in the Southeast Asia, so it's just ridiculous. Now, of course, we have to consider that this is Jake Sullivan talking, and this guy, together with Blinken, they are main clowns in the national security circle in the United States, who planned and executed this wonderful plan, which completely, also helped to destroy the United States. And so he said, what we are doing is surging various conventional capacities, which of course the United States doesn't have, to Ukraine, so that they can effectively defend themselves and take the fight to the Russians, not giving them nuclear capability. First, whatever Jake Sullivan says, you can discard it as garbage. This is a complete propaganda. And so less than 2 weeks earlier, the New York Times claimed that President Joe Biden could allow Ukraine to have nuclear weapons again, as it did before the fall of the Soviet Union, citing anonymous U.S. officials. So, as I already stated, there are no normal people in Biden administration, and as I will demonstrate to you now, that we have the situation with, basically we're dealing with people, many of whom are mentally ill. So they are, how to put it politely, there is something, really specific about these people. If you think so, that this is just now, let me remind you Yugoslavia. This is Yugoslavia 1999. This is the gang rape of the former Yugoslavia, primarily Serbia, by the U.S. armed forces. You see, Happy Easter. They were dropping on actually Orthodox Christians of Serbia. And that tells you that there are many people who are really, as I already stated, mentally challenged. They have some kind of psychiatric disorders. And you have, if you remember, Mr. Clark, General Clark, being hysterical with the late Mike Johnson. General Mike Johnson told him to pound sand if he wanted to start the World War III. So there's something which I think so, it's complex of inferiority which permeates all those American military political circles, pardon me, it wasn't the slip of the tongue, circles. And so what can I say, that's just one demonstration of that. So if that hasn't been enough, now we have none other than Mr. Donald J. Trump, President-elect. He just puts it out there, which everybody knows, or every single media reported, that the idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. We require commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful US economy. That's kindergarten guy writing, really. They can go find another sucker. There is no chance that the BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. Russia already waved goodbye to America, and Russians do not depend on American market whatsoever. But you can go and look up at the Wall Street Journal that China And they reported it yesterday. I believe I'm not going to go finding the snippet, basically, and print screen it. But the point is the Chinese are now, they have the group, special group, which is basically tasked and is already working on learning how Russians withstood all those sanctions. And it is clear that Trump wants to basically fight China. That's his, shtick, I think. And yeah, Chinese are studying how Russians managed to do that. And this has everything to do with Russian culture, with Russian military history. And in this case, Mr. Trump can huff and puff and, well, United States market. Well, China is moving away from it anyhow. And many people say that it will be difficult for China to refuse, or basically to have to abandon the US market. Yes, it will be difficult, but that is why they study the ways how to deal with this. And again, do not forget, reality is US market is losing its solvability. So it's not, solvable there anymore, whatever they call this stupid monetary terms, but its ability to pay is reduced greatly, and it will reduce greatly even more. So in this case, Mr. Trump can huff and puff and to do whatever the video, audio effects and smoke, but you cannot stop this. In order to stop that, you have to have number of the traits which, as I already stated, you can look up my books, and many times I spoke about it by Jeffrey Barnett, which was published no less than from in the U.S. Army War College Parameters magazine. At that time, in the 90s, they understood why the West led the world. Not anymore. And those 14 points are extremely important. And once their main myth, or the main pillar, the rest of it is just secondary almost, important but secondary. The main pillar of America's US dollar, essentially, is the myth of the American military might, which isn't there. It wasn't actually. It was always, so if anybody can explain to me how the finest fighting force in history, per Mr. Obama, has the losing record of its wars, even against subpar enemies, you know what? I don't know. It's cognitive dissonance, isn't it? You have to actually show me the money, as Cuba Gooding Jr. said in the movie. You have to show me the record, show me the money, show me your credit record, if you wish, credit rating. Well, there's none, except obviously Panama and the Grenada. Other than that, wow. So what can I say? And that's the main thing on which the US dollar rested as the main reserve currency. People are not idiots, except for Washington. Washington lives in this delusion. And to demonstrate to you, here's one of the Polish lady. I translated it for you. She is the chair of the democracy in the Eastern Europe somewhere, another shyster, sinecure abusing think tank in Washington. She's Polish. And what she basically explained to people, and this is the type of people who, apart from teenagers, who advise Washington people, including CIA and all those. She explained that there is a very bad situation with how to put it, Russian economic situation, okay? And that Russia is about to collapse, and that it's over, for Russians. And here's her piece, and her name is Irina Lasota. She is an old, 79 years, I believe, crazy, mentally challenged person, but look what she does. And she does this also for Poland. She is published in Poland, and this is what Polish people consume. Irina Lasota, the disintegration of Russia, despite what Russian dissidents tell us. Sanctions are working. In cities, Russians cannot afford butter, meat, or even eggs. If the people go to Kremlin to cease, it will be for this reason, she says. It was published a day ago, and there is more and more talk of ceasefire in the Russian-Ukrainian war. Yeah, I agree with her, actually. There is more and more talk about ceasefire. It's primarily in Washington, and this is what they do. Washington is capable only to fight all those, pretend wars where they pretend that they are the finest fighting force in history. But in reality, this is Russians are on record. They stated already, I don't think so, they will return to explaining this. There will be no freezing. There are conditions which are very well defined. If not, bye-bye. That's what I'm saying. Why Mr. Kellogg, if once Trump is sworn as the US president, he may go and try to, huff and puff there. He, as I already stated, he will be laughed out of the room with Russians. He's going to be looked at as the military and diplomatic amateur, which he reality is. National security advisor for people like former Vice President Mike Pence, you have to have a serious intellectual, limitations. So, but just to demonstrate to you how this Polish lady lies through her teeth, here it is. This is actually the prices around the world. This is the website. Here's the Poland. As you can see yourself, this is eggs. This is September 2024. Poland is 35th in this list. It's as you can see yourself, $1.95 per dozen. So, and as you can see yourself, all those high standard of living Europeans like Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, Germany. I mean, you have to be a millionaire to really eat normally. But just to demonstrate to you, we go down to the very end of the same list, and guess what? You see, in the list who is on the bottom, Russia. Cheapest eggs in the world are in Russia, and they just $1.16, 2.5 times less expensive than they are in Poland. But this, whatever Iran her name, you may say that she is a clown. How to put it? Clowns are the main contingent which is in charge of the, advising US military, US intelligence, and US politicians on the world outside. Yes, pardon me, a little bit of cold, nothing serious. Yes, Mr. Trump correctly stated, wonderful United States. Well, yeah, United States used to be wonderful. Long time ago. There are very serious issues today which have to be addressed if we want to preserve the country in some normal, coherent shape. Is Mr. Trump the man to do it? I doubt it, but at least he can serve as the bumper, if you wish. He can soften the landing, which is already happening. We live within it. And this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. And what can I say? Have the nice rest of the weekend, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.